While the while the basket was still on the soldier, and he read from "I profess this day to your Lord your God" until the end of the passage, Rabbi Huda says, "Until a wandering Aramean was my father. When he reached a wandering Aramean was my father, he took down the basket from a soldier, sold, shoulder, held it in held it in its rim, and the priest placed his hand beneath it and waved it and read from "A wandering Aramean was my father" until the end of the passage and placed it by the side of the altar, and he prostrated himself and went out.
Just to clarify, it looks like Rabbi Yehuda is disagreeing, but the Tosfos Yom Tov says that it can't be because he brings various sources, and it seems like Rabbi Yehuda is actually explaining the Tanna Kama, saying that there's no disagreement over here that he does that there is a waving because it looks like there's a disagreement if the Tanna Kama says no, there's no waving involved.
Right.
So Rabbi Yehuda is just coming in, filling in the gaps, and saying that there was a wave.
Okay. Okay. Originally, anyone who knew how to recite recited, and whoever did not know how to recite, they read it to him. When they refrained from bringing, they ordained that it should be read to both those who knew and to those who did not know. The rich brought their Bikkurim in silver and golden baskets, and the poor brought them in wicker baskets of peeled willow branches, and the baskets and the Bikkurim were given to the priest. Okay.
Okay. Rabbi Shimon ben Nanas on there. Ma'atrin is a bikurim chutz mishiva saminim. So that there were decorations that came along with the bikurim. So you weren't just bringing baskets of whatever your bikurim were. And furthermore, you could adorn them with apples and bananas and strawberries and whatever other fruits you wanted to. Rabbi Akiva Omer ein ma'atrin es bikurim ela mishiva saminim. Not there was you cannot do that. Why? Rabbi Akiva is concerned that people will see you doing this and think, oh, Bikurim is like all these different fruits.
Okay.
And yeah, I remember that was the situation. I remember I told you when I was a kid, over Shavuos, people would bring these baskets of fruit to shul.
Right.
It was like just,
Right.
I think they repackaged them and gave them to tzedakah or whatever. But it was just like I don't, there were no, there was nothing about the seven fruits of Eretz Yisrael. It was just whatever came through.
Right.
Had no idea that until I started learning about Bikurim that it was anything about Shiva Saminim. Yeah, okay. So Rabbi Akiva's got a point, and that actually is the halacha.
Right.
Rabbi Shimon Omer, shalosh midos b'Bikurim. There are three different grades of Bikurim. One is habikurim, the Bikurim themselves. Okay, that's
Hmm.
what it was. He tied the string around and said these are Bikurim. And then there's Tosefas Bikurim. Tosefes Bikurim is stuff that because Bikurim has got the din that you can add as much as you like to it. You could declare your entire field to be Bikurim. We learned earlier. So
Yeah.
if it comes to the time when he's actually making his Bikurim and he's thinking, this looks a little miscane. Let me add a little bit to this. He can add as much as he wants and call that Tosefes Bikurim. And it's also it takes on the din of Bikurim. The Itur Bikurim, and then there's the decorations of the Bikurim. Okay. Tosefes HaBikurim min b'mino. Whatever is Tosefes HaBikurim, the additional ones, it's got to be grapes with grapes, pomegranates with pomegranates, and that's so you can't mix them up when you're putting them into their baskets. Okay. The Itur HaBikurim, but the decorations of the Bikurim, min b'she'ena mino. You're allowed to take a basket of pomegranates and decorate them with grapes. Okay, and Rabbi Shimon ben Nanas would say apples, but that's not the halacha as we learned. Okay, Tosefes habikurim necheles betara upetura min adamai. So the additional bikurim are eaten in purity, just like regular bikurim, and they are pater from demai, just like regular bikurim, which means that if the Kohen receives gifts of bikurim or tosefes bikurim from an Amma Aretz, he doesn't have to worry because even Amma Aretz are very scrupulous with anything that's got to do with Kohen. So we don't worry. We see that in a number of places I think it's in the Mai itself, or is it in Kod Menachos? I can't remember. There's a place where we explicitly deal with the fact that Amei Aretz pick up their socks and they're much more careful about doing things that are related to kedusha. So here the same din applies to Itur to Tosefes Bikurim. that you don't have to worry about demai. The itur habikurim chayav b'demai. However, the decorations that come along with them, there the kohen has got to worry about demai again. Although the Mishnah doesn't say out whether you have to be concerned, whether you have to eat it in Tara. Um, and the Rambam says that even the Itur Bikurim it doesn't have to be must be eaten Batara, just like the Tosefos of Bikurim and Bikurim. Okay, Yud Aleph. Masai Amru Tosefos of Bikurim ka Bikurim. So when do they say that the Tosefos of the Bikurim is like Bikurim? Bisman shehi ba'a min haaretz. That's only when the fruit that was added it comes from Eretz Yisrael. Im eina ba'a min haaretz eina bikurim. But if it doesn't come from Eretz Yisrael, in other words, where do you bring bikurim that's not from Eretz Yisrael? We learned earlier that ma'aver hayadain that
Right.
we said that you can bring bikurim from there. There was a Tana who said you cannot bring from ma'aver hayadain because it's not Eretz Zabas Chalav Dvash. But the Tosefes Bikurim, if it comes from Chutz La'aretz, if it comes from Ever Yarden, then it's not like Bikurim, and you've got both angles that you got to worry about. One, you don't have to eat it batara, but on the other hand, you do have to worry about demai. Okay.
Oh, wait, I lost you. I don't know what happened here.
Hmm?
Wait, I lost your face.
My
Oh,
face.
okay.
I found my face.
Okay. Um, that's it.
Yeah, we're on to Aleph Zayin.
Okay. Let me just fix this. I made a mistake over here. Um, okay. So what did I do that's wrong? There's something wrong. Okay, I got it. Okay. And we are on to back
Bikurim,
to Bikkurim, back
Aleph
to
Zayin.
beginning of so of 1:7, yes?
Yeah.
Right. If he set aside his Bikkurim and told his field, he does not bring it from and recite. And the other from the same kind he does not bring. But from another kind he brings and recites. Rabbi Yehuda says, from the same kind he also brings and recites. If he set aside a Bikurim and they were plundered, or they decayed, were stolen or lost, or were rendered unclean, he brings others in their stead, but he does not recite. And the others are not liable to the added fifth. If they became unclean in the temple court, he scatters them and does not recite. And whence do we know that he is responsible for them until he brings them to the Temple Mount? Because it is written, the first of the first fruits of your land you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. This teaches that he is responsible for them until he brings them to the Temple Mount. If he brought of one kind and recited, and then brought of another kind, he does not recite. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And here we go. In the seventh year, if in the seventh year he redeems it for its value, and if it was always rendered hefker, he has only the cost of gathering. If Ram redeems his own net to revive, he must add a fifth of it, whether it is his or was given to him as a gift. On the eve of the first festival of Pesach, in the fourth and the seventh beer was performed. How was the beer performed? Truma and Truma Maisa were given to the owners, and Maisa Rishon to its owners, and Maisa Ani to its owners, and Maisa Sheni and Bikurim were removed everywhere. Reb Shimon says Bikurim are given to the priest just as Truma. Cooked food, Beis Shammai said it must be removed, but his pillow says it is regarded as removed. If one has produce at this time and the time of beer has arrived, Beis Shammai says he must redeem it with money, but Beis Hillel says it is the same whether it is money or produce. Okay,
Shvius.
okay. We are on to Shvi'it. Olive shell. Saplings and gourds combined in a Beit Saw. Reb Shimon ben Gamil says that there are 10 gourds within a Beit Saw, the entire Beit Saw may be plowed until Rosh Hashanah. Until when are they considered saplings? When Elazar ben Azariah says until they become permitted. Reb Yeshua says until they are 7 years old. Reb Akiva says as long as they are called thus. If a tree was cut down and produced fresh shoots, if 1 handbreadth or less, it is counted as a sapling. For more than 1 handbreadth, it is counted for a tree. So says Reb Shimon. Until when may a white field be plowed in the 6th year? Until the moisture has dried up. As long as people plow to plant cucumbers in gourds, Reb Shimon says you put forth a law for each man into his own hand, rather in a white field until Pesach and in an orchard until Shavuos.
Uh, para.
Okay, Ches base. A person sanctifying the contest water should not wear shoes because if liquid would fall on one of his shoes, it is contaminated, and the shoe contaminates him. Thus, this one says, that which contaminates you cannot contaminate me, yet you can contaminate me. If liquid fell on one's skin, he is tahor. If it fell on his clothes, the clothes are contaminated and contaminate him. Thus, one says, that which contaminates you cannot contaminate me, yet you can contaminate me. The person burning the paraduma or the sacrificial bulls that are burned, or the one who sends the goat to Azel, all contaminate clothes. The paraduma, the sacrificial bulls that are burned, and the he-goat that are sent to Azel themselves do not contaminate clothing. Thus, this one says, that which contaminates you cannot contaminate me, but you can contaminate me. Concerning one who eats from a carcass of a kosher bird and is still in his throat, he contaminates his clothing. The carcass itself does not contaminate clothes. Thus, this one says, that which contaminates you cannot contaminate me, yet you can contaminate me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If blood from unblemished offerings mixed with blood from blemished offerings, it should be poured into the canal. If a cup of blood becomes mixed up among other cups of blood, Eliezer says if one cup was offered, they should offer all the cups, but then come and say, even if all the cups but one were offered, it should be poured into the canal. If those bloods which apply below mix with those bloods which are applied below above, if Eliezer says, let him apply the blood above and view the lower blood which is above as if it were water, and let him then return and apply it below. But the come and say, let them be poured into the canal. But if he did not take counsel and apply the blood above, it is valid. If blood requiring one application to the altar mixed with blood requiring one application, they should be applied in one application. If blood requiring 4 applications mixed with blood requiring 4 applications, they should be applied in 4 applications. If blood requiring 4 applications mixed with blood requiring one application, Reb Eliezer says they should be applied in 4 applications. Reb Yeshua says they should be applied in one application. Reb Eliezer said to him, but he then thereby transgresses the commandment. Do not subtract. Yet Reb Yeshua said to him, but he thereby transgresses the commandment, do not add. Said Rabbi Eliezer to him, do not add applies only when it is by itself. Rabbi Yeshua says, do not subtract applies when it is by itself. Rabbi Yeshua said further, if you make 4 applications, you transgress. Do not add and perform an act, but if you do not make 4 applications, though you transgress, do not diminish, you have not performed an act.
Right, and that's the fundamental of shave al taseh. If you're concerned, if you're in a suffix situation and you're not sure if acting is the right thing or not acting is the right thing, the correct thing to do is not to act because
Right.
rather passively violate than actively violate.
Okay, Yud Vav. If one was married to 2 wives and sold his field, and the first wife wrote to the purchaser, I have neither right nor claim against you, the second wife may take it from the purchaser, and the first from the second, and the purchaser from the first. And they go around in circles until they make a compromise among themselves. So it is with a creditor, and so it is with a woman creditor. A widow who is supported from the property of the orphans, her handiwork belongs to them, but they are not obligated to bury her. Her heirs, those who inherit her ketubah, are obligated to bury her. She pledged the ketubah, a part of it, or she gave her ketubah as part of a gift to another person. She may not sell the rest except with the sanction of a court. They can come and say, however, she may sell even 4 or 5 times and may sell for her sustenance without the sanction of a court. And she should write, I sold for sustenance, but a divorcee may not sell except with the sanction of a court. A widow whose ketubah was 200 zuz and who sold property worth 100 for 200 or property worth 200 for 100 has received a ketubah. If a ketubah was 100 and she sold property worth 100 and a dinner for 100, her sale is void. Even if she says, I will return a dinner to the heirs, her sale is void. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says her sale is always valid unless there would be enough for her to leave
Oh,
over in
hold on a
field.
second. Hold on a second. I think
I skipped.
yeah, I lost I lost track of you, and I think you're on Mishnah Dalet already, right?
Right.
Okay, we're supposed to finish after Mishnah Base, but did you do Mishnah Base?
No, I didn't, as a matter of fact. And I went right to Gimel. I went to Gimel. Okay. Base, Yud Aleph base. A widow either ever a religion or a marriage may sell without the sanction of a court. But Shimon says after marriage she may sell without the sanction of a court. If the heiress, she may not sell except with the sanction of a court, because she is not entitled to sustenance, and whoever is not entitled to sustenance may not sell except with the sanction of a court.
Okay,
Okay,
that's it.
no mistake.